right, everyone. Welcome back to another great episode of The Human Rule. So today I have another very special guest, Debbie Morris, who is a really top tier HR leader in our space, in our industry. We are going to dip and dab into the well-being at work, which of course now in today's state is really, really important that we really get right. So really excited to have Debbie here. I know that there are many of you that know of her in our space, but for those of you who don't, Debbie, thank you for being here today. I wanted to just allow you the floor to give anyone in my network just a little bit of some insight into your background and what has led you here today as an HR leader.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. I'm excited to partake in the podcast. It's been exciting to see your journey. And yeah, so I have been in Atlanta for about 20 years, primarily in HR. I started out in benefits, but then moved on to talent management. So for most of my career, I've been focused on the niche of talent management, which includes talent reviews, succession planning, individual development, employee experience and engagement, early career programs, and such. Currently today, I am a talent learning and culture leader and focus primarily on a lot of those same subjects for organizations that have multiple businesses and need sort of coordination and alignment through those businesses. So I would say that has been the focus area for me, not necessarily or not as much talent management, but also the coordination of enterprise processes and systems across many businesses.
Yes. I mean, look, talk about, we'll get into some coaching stuff too that Debbie does as well. But to me, as we get into the well-being at work, I'm sure throughout your talent career, that has been really critical, right? As you're trying to land people and also continue to keep their attention from your population was really important. So wanted to actually pick Debbie's brain around what she feels like well-being at work really is, what the definition is, and also how that has changed and evolved throughout your career. Because I mean, I've seen lots of different areas, but love to kind of just see what your thoughts are here.
Yeah. And I mean, you touched on it. I can't believe I forgot to even mention the coaching part of my career. Well-being at work, I definitely feel like it picked up speed. It was more of a trend, right, before COVID. But then I really felt like it really came into play during that time. So during that time, I myself, just on a side note, was involved with a project with the company I was working for, and then decided to get a coaching certification. So I am a certified ICF coach, but I specialize in positive psychology, which is the science of well-being and, the science of helping people sort of pursue the good life.
Hi, I'm George LaRocque, and I'm looking forward to exploring the critical trends shaping the future of work and technology with you over on the Work Tech podcast. Now, this podcast is a little different. I bring together industry leaders, innovators, and investors, and we go deep into market intelligence that matters to HR pros and tech providers alike. So give the Work Tech podcast a listen here on the Work Defined Podcast Network, and please subscribe if you like it. See you there.
So in that, at that time, COVID came, I was pursuing this certification. I was learning all about what it really meant to have a good life. And people were really questioning sort of how they were working and what work actually looked like. We had been accustomed to sort of the grind, the girl boss era, and, the hustle. And, COVID really actually made people sit back and reflect on what was really important in their lives and in their careers. And your career, from what I learned, your career is really just one part of many dimensions of your life. But because we spend so much time at work, we've really lost a lot of the third spaces that we've been able to frequent in the past. And we expect a lot more from the spaces that we sort of serve in a workplace environment. So well-being at work, just really crisply, is, does work connect to all of those dimensions that make someone feel like they are achieving well-being, or they're on the side of the spectrum where they're flourishing and then thriving. And so, like when we think about well-being, there are a few dimensions that I look at. Is someone experiencing positive emotions? Are they feeling super engaged in the work that they're doing? Are they making or connecting and having great relationships? Do they feel a sense of belonging? Is there meaning in their work? And are they feeling a sense of achievement? And then also there are all these other sort of smaller dimensions, which I think people tend to focus on, which are like your healthful kind of dimensions. It's like your mindset, your finances, your environment, your physical health. And so all of those things, it feels like a lot, but then you spend a lot of time at work and then people are trying to kind of resolve or connect on those things when they're at work.
Yeah, I would say when you just said belonging, that is a piece where I feel like a lot of people miss. It's just you're going through your day to day, but just someone feeling like they belong in the space that they're in and that the work that they're doing is not only meaningful, like how you mentioned, but also appreciated. I really wanted to have this conversation with Debbie to, my network out there is because yes, sometimes when you think about well-being at work, some people will initially think about it being a financial thing or what benefits are being offered. Sometimes it's just also encompasses just the people that are around you and who you're seeing all day, every day, and what the connection is. And even if you don't agree with that person, being able to at least respect that person and have a proper conversation about the issue and
Mhm.
compromise some and then agreeing to disagree without it just blowing over and someone feeling like they can't work in a space
Mhm.
anymore because they don't get along with someone. I mean, you're naturally, I mean, this is in my opinion, but Debbie, happy for you to chime in here. But like, I think like naturally, you're not going to like everyone you work with, you're just not. But can you respect them enough, right, to still ensure that you're not shutting them out? Because sometimes you have a disagreement with something, an employee may speak up, against their manager, and the next thing you know, that employee is being removed out of meetings and not feeling like they belong, and then it becomes this whole thing, and then all of a sudden we lose out on a great employee, right? I mean, I've seen that happen one too many times, but happy to kind of like hear your insights on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a few things. So I think number one, you as a person connecting and finding a point of alignment with the values and the behaviors and the culture of that company. We're experienced. We've worked at a few places, and you can kind of tell sometimes, kind of quickly, the personality of an organization and the culture of organization, and whether or not you would be a fit there. So I think there's something to say about organizations that cultivate a culture where belonging is a priority and authenticity is a priority, and they, want you to be yourself, and they want the communication that doesn't require sort of the politicizing of things, but you just come out and say what just needs to be said. I think that's one part of that, is just being really clear on who you are, the value that you bring, and would that fit within the organization that you're seeking to become a part of. I think the other thing is having sort of the professional maturity, like you said, is to know that, you're going to work with people that are going to be different than you, but then having the ability to recognize that the diversity in thought and the diversity in experiences is what makes companies and people great and teams great. And so, what can you take from the experience that may not be the way you would have necessarily approached something, but just knowing that your way isn't always the right way, their way isn't always the right way. You have to come to sort of the table respecting the experience of others and to expect that they would do the same for you.
Yes, agree. I think that a lot of times the mutual respect just gets lost. People's egos get in the way, and then it's a
Mhm.
whole thing. And it's like, oh, there I've seen that happen one too many times in my career. But yeah, great way to explain it. And then Debbie, especially through you mentioning like succession planning too, any
Mhm.
type of initiatives that you either implemented or been a part of that have really worked out well that you're really happy about, that have been like successful, that we can maybe get some things that you have put into place that, someone else out there may want to be mindful of, especially as we're coming across closing out Q4, coming across Q1. And I know performance management and all that is going to be a big thing come next year. So just curious on what you've done on your side.
I don't know if it relates specifically to succession planning. I think it's just overall development, right? So, how we are personally investing in ourselves and making sure that we continuously learn and grow. So, I think one of the hallmarks of a lot of the learning and development programs I've done have been around sponsorship, mentorship, and just sort of general connection with other folks within the organization and even outside to help people navigate their life and their career. And I say life because while I think people, get into some of these programs and they're like, well, it's supposed to help me at work. We find that the really fruitful connections, those mentors, those sponsors are really being transparent and authentic about their lives and how they were able to navigate their lives and their career. And I feel like, again, going back to sort of belonging and community and finding people that you can trust at work, this really aligns with that, and that people are connected with others at work. And, once you find like a friend or someone that you can trust, or, someone that has an experience that would be helpful for you at a really difficult time in your life, it really makes a difference in terms of how someone feels about their current role and the level of confidence they have in themselves. But then it also creates a level of engagement that you really can't buy. Think about like the times where you've left a job or you've left a place and you're really not that sad about leaving the work, but you're more sad about leaving the people that really made an impact on your life there. And so when I think about the dimensions of well-being, relationships, connection, and belonging, that is, definitely part of an experience that we have in the world, but then we also kind of foster at work.
What's the saying? People don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad managers, right? But people also stay, right, because of great managers and who they work for. And so that is really important when you mentioned the mentorship. And Debbie and I was just on Debbie's side, Debbie's podcast and newsletter that she does too. And we dipped in this a little bit on, hey, look, like you can't necessarily go about this journey alone. I've learned that the hard way, where you think like you can just do everything on your own, and you start to realize you do necessarily need someone in your corner, right, to kind of get you to that next stage. And so a mentor is really, really important, but then also just having the right people around you to properly guide you, and knowing that when you go to work, you have like your tribe around you a little bit. It's really empowering within itself too, to kind of help lead you along the way. So I do like that Debbie had mentioned in her career where they really empowered people, right, to take the lead on whether it be, studying for something or volunteering or being a part of other groups. I mean, you're around like-minded people and that's helping you get to the next level. All of that you can't put a dollar on, right? I mean, no matter how high a salary is, no matter how great the benefits are, if you are going into a job where you're just around bad people, or people that are draining you or bringing you down, that's just going to make things worse, right? It could be the best job, but it's not going to be a good environment for you.
Yeah.
And I feel like the world is shifting. I've said several times, this is more so of like an employee market and not an employer market anymore, where employees, especially the younger generations, are choosing where they're going to be. And if they're not necessarily, and you can correct me if you think I'm prop heavy, they're not necessarily going after the next big company name. Sometimes people are staying away from these larger companies now. And so we really got to be mindful that we're feeding the proper things into our people and showing them a path for them versus getting a 2 to 3% increase every year.
Yeah. And I think the market is always going to ebb and flow. Like, sometimes it's going to be an employer market. Sometimes it's going to be an employee market. Right now, folks are feeling sort of the hurt and the pain in terms of trying to find something. But I don't think that employee expectations ebb and flow the same way. The research tells us all the time, pretty much every year, people are dissatisfied with work. They're disengaged with work, I should say. And folks are looking to make an impact. They want to have greater meaning at work, and they want to do well, right? And so I think if you think about when people take their time and their employees come to a job to put in effort, no one is waking up to come to a job and to do a bad job. We're all there because we want to contribute something to society. We want to feel that we are having some kind of achievement in our day and that we want to contribute something meaningful to the organization and to the world in which we live. And so, like, I think just well-being in general is just super important because I think people connect it so much to physical health, which is definitely a part of it. But there are so many things that organizations can do that can speak to the other parts, like fostering, positive emotions and fostering and supporting supportive relationships. I just think there's a lot that can be done, and it's not necessarily so much connected to physical health, which is important. But there are other aspects of it that I think people can incorporate just sort of daily at work and in their lives.
Do you think that if an HR executive was to go to their executive leaders and pitch for this, do you think it would still be tough to get an executive leadership like buy-in? Or do you think that they're also understanding the importance of that?
I actually don't think so. I think I've been on the side of where and how organizations decide what competencies and behaviors are important to them that drive the culture that they want. And so I think sometimes it's just tweaking the language and the understanding of what well-being actually means, and then showing your leadership how easy it is to incorporate, right? So very tactically, I can say, an employee might have an anniversary. Instead of mailing the anniversary gift directly to their home, is there some way that you can acknowledge that in a staff meeting? Or is there something special that you can do for them in the office that shows that level of achievement? The things that I think that are super practical that I think actually make a difference in someone's experience at work are not that hard. You
Yeah.
just have to sort of empower your leaders and your leadership to think broadly about what leadership looks like. And it's okay to bring your authentic self. It's okay to be transparent about wins that you've had and losses that you've had. So I think it's more of a cultural bend and, having leaders that really get why that's important and support a leadership team that then models those behaviors.
Very true. I mean, how you mentioned just nothing that costs anything, right? Just a simple thank you in a room of people.
Yeah.
Or I had a guest on some months back, and it was like just a simple, how are you doing? Like
Mhm.
just something that simple when we get caught up in our day to day that just would have gone a long way and adds nothing to the books. We don't need the CFO to get upset about anything. So I like that. Very simple, back to the basic, guys. Let's not overthink it. At all from our side. But yes, Debbie, this is great. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. I really wanted to get the psychological side of the well-being at work out there
Mhm.
for people so that as we're right now, we're in open enrollment season where people are obviously upset because we know rates are going up and so forth. And it's like there are things that we can do that are not costly to still show our population that they are appreciated and that we do have their back and are here for them from an HR side. But Debbie, look, so Debbie has her coaching. I mean, she's still leading talent teams. I mean, lots of good things. Debbie will be attached to this post, so you guys can reach out to her. But is there anywhere specific you want my network to also find you at, or maybe register for your newsletter? Happy for you to share that now as well.
Yeah, you could just follow me on LinkedIn. I usually have a link in my profile about signing up for the newsletter. I also have sort of like a framework for well-being and sort of the competencies that align to that. So I'll make sure, that's available for your listeners as well.
Oh, perfect. All right, guys, if you heard it straight from Debbie, please be sure to connect with her, send her a message. If you need any coaching, definitely get on her calendar. She is busy. So we will allow everyone, please enjoy the rest of your holiday season. And Debbie, we'll have to do this again at some point, sometime next year.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys. Well, I will see you all in another couple of weeks for another great episode. Bye.